Alright, welcome guys. Today I'll be showing you how I do an open house, and everybody does it a little different. So the first step is basically what time should you do the open house. You know, you could do one every day of the week. It doesn't matter, but if you do one on the weekdays, make sure it's you know maybe 4 to 7 in that range. Because people do work, and the ones that need homes are the people that do work. So, and during the weekends, from my personal experience, the best time on Saturday is from 1 to 3. Like a 2-hour time slot, and that just gives people, a little time, from working hard the week, throughout the week, and gives them time to wake up, grab coffee, anything they need, and kind of get their day started, and then hit the open house. And on Sundays, from 12 to 2 is, in my opinion, is kind of perfect because you got the churchgoers, that get out around 11:30, and they might try to hit the open house afterwards, and everybody's kind of preparing for the week on Sundays, so you want to get that out a little bit earlier. The next step is preparing for the open house. So that means having all your printouts ready, like your flyers. If you need some more business cards, you want to make sure you order those. You want to go grab your snacks. So what I usually bring is those miniature waters and those little bags of popcorn with the little. I also grabbed the little fruit packets. Those are pretty good, and that's mainly what I bring. So, you know, most people don't grab snacks at open houses. You know, they might grab a water or two. So make sure it's something that you will eat at home. So if it's about to go bad. So and the next step is kind of printing out I go into the MLS and I print out the customer info sheet. So I'll show you guys how I do it, and you know, let's get started. All right, so we're in the MLS. We looked up our property, and what we're gonna do now is we're gonna print out the customer full, to hand people out. But what I do is I have my information on the top of the sheet. So I'm always branding myself. So if you ever, you don't want to give them an MLS sheet and they don't take your card or they don't remember, you know, and somebody else ends up making the sale. So, but here I looked up the property that I'll be doing the open house on, and we're gonna click on the top left, and we're gonna go to the bottom here and click custom PDF reports. And boom, now let me give you my report settings too. So here is a really cool feature in Stellar MLS where it adds your you click this add header, and it adds your profile photo, your contact information, and your logo. So we're gonna activate that, and that's pretty much it. And then we're gonna go to customer full and create PDF. Now it's gonna create that PDF for us. So let's wait on that, and then we're gonna click download it. And since I already have it downloaded, I'll show you guys. I'll just drag this in here. So this is exactly what it looks like. It has our header right here, which I told you guys about is very important. So if the customer or the client, the potential buyer, my bad. So if he ever needs your information, it's right there on the sheet with all the specifications on the home. So, and this, gives you all the details of the home, when it was built, cost, the floors, everything. So, and square footage. So here you can kind of get the year built. Um, all the information you kind of need. So, and that's what you're gonna bring to your open house. I usually print about 8 sheets. Don't overdo it. You're not gonna have it's not gonna be a flood of people coming there. So I mean, the most I ever had at an open house was maybe 5 to 6. So okay, you kind of that's kind of how I do the printout. So next we're gonna talk about signs. You know, how many signs should you put up? You know, I I say how much is needed for that specific location. Every location is different, so you don't want to spend 2 hours picking up a boatload of signs. So I usually focus on the main traffic areas. So let's get into that. So I have my marker set up. So here, down here is going to be our open house, right? Circle it. This is where we're doing the open house at. So right now, Kennedy Boulevard, is a pretty heavy traffic area. So we kind of want to lead people, from Kennedy Boulevard down to the open house. And this street is very busy to Armenia. So I would me, everybody's different. I will put signs. I'm gonna mark them by X. So we want to mark them here. And you always want to have the sign right before the turn. So if it's after they already passed it while looking, it's too late for them to make a turn, and then they're gonna have to make a U-turn. It's just gonna be a headache. So I'm gonna put signs right here, and we're gonna put signs right here and right here. So we got the main street covered with this. So let's go down to our secondary. We're gonna put signs right here. Boom. So now we got the busy streets covered. So it leads down here. This could kind of be confusing, so I would probably put a sign right here, right in this middle area, and right here. I guess there's another one right here. And I would have put a sign right here, right before they turn. I will try to put one right across from here. And last sign I would probably put from here. And then, we can also, if we want to go overboard, we can also put signs right here. But I think we got the street covered. So, like I'm saying, I don't like to overdo it. I don't want to spend 2 hours picking up signs. So let's count how many we got. So we got 5 here. So we got about 11 signs. We covered our busy streets, and that's where the main traffic is. So you don't want to put signs, random signs over here. You know, I mean the neighbors will see them, but you know it's just not going to be worth your time. So, and if they go to get out on these main streets, they're going to see the signs anyways. Okay, and that basically covers our sign, our signage. So we want to make sure we're out there. I like to get to the area. I say area to put up signs. I want to get there 30 minutes before, so it's going to take me about 20 minutes. Anywhere in there to put out the signs, and then about that 10-minute window, I leave for bringing all my materials inside the actual open house. So I think that covers that. All right, next we're going to talk about social media. And this is what my flyer typically looks like. And, on the flyer, I got open house, the time, the address, and three unique features that people want to know. They want to know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and the square footage. And square footage is very big, so don't leave that out. So with this, I would typically run ads on Facebook. You know, I'll start running ads maybe Wednesday, and you know, I'll put in maybe $40 on Wednesday, and then you know, for Instagram, I would do the same thing. So, and Facebook has a real cool feature, you know, where if somebody clicks on your ad, they it captures their information. You'll be able to use that. So it's kind of a way to generate leads, you know, so through social media. So, and it kind of, you know, you got two things covered. You know, you got your internet leads covered. You're creating notoriety on, you know, social media presence, and then, you know, when you go put out your signs, you're doing the footwork. You know, you're letting your community know you're out there. So let me show you kind of what my sign, you know, my sign looks like. Oh, here we go. All right, we're gonna talk about signage here. So this is what my sign is. You know, I did it custom. So I know at your brokerage they give you the plain little signs, and then you know, you can go get signs at Lowe's and stuff that just say open house. But what's the point in doing that? You know, when you're out there putting up signs, you want to be confident that people keep seeing your face. Your community keeps seeing how hard you're working, and you kind of want to brand everything that you do with your face and your name. So, and you know, custom signs, they cost a little bit more, but I tell you, it's worth it. You know, I've had customers tell me, hey, nice sign, you know, and joke, hey, it really is you at the open house, you know, and that's what you kind of want to get, you know. You want to brand everything. And on the sign, you also want to have your phone number. So basically, if, you know, if they get lost, or, you know, they can't find the other sign or anything, they can always come back to it, grab the number off of there. You know, usually they'll take a picture from their car and they'll call the number. Another important thing is, you know, if you're in a gated community where there's an access code, you know, this is a very big thing that you need to have. So you need to have tape on hand, and you need to print out a flyer that looks like this. So, you know, here I basically tell them, hey, if you're here for the open house, call me at my number and I will let you in. So I've ran into issues where I put the actual PIN code and people tear it down because, you know, if it's a gated community, they don't want their pins getting leaked. You know, that means anybody can come in the community and, you know, maybe steal or destroy things. So you want to have something out there like this. And they'll call you while you're at the open house. So, but make sure you pay attention to your phone. Even when you're reclined, just, you know, keep it in your pocket and kind of peek at it, you know, if it goes off. So that is a very important thing to have. So now I'm going to show you guys, you know, how to do everything, and, you know, when I'm heading to the open house and everything, kind of vlog everything so you guys can kind of see, you know, and follow me there. Officially on my way to the open house. You know, we're gonna ride to the area, then we're gonna put up signs and you know, get in the house and set everything up. So just kind of giving you guys you know, play-by-play, you know, capturing every moment. Getting close. As you can see, I have all my signage in the back, and that's how my car looks. You know, the car is full of water bottles, signs. That's a realtor life right there. So yeah, I'll let you guys see how I put up the signs. And, you know, it's not much to it, but, you know, Just gotta make sure you don't get hit by any cars. You know, I almost got hit one time by a car that wasn't paying attention to the light. So, you know, just be careful out there when you're putting up signs. You know, since you're doing, you know, open houses, you don't get paid for open houses. You're doing it for free. So, you know, what's most important is your life and your safety, and, you know, just make sure you're safe and doing everything you need to do to ensure you're safe. So, you know, don't rush things, you know, think everything through. So, and, you know, what I generally do, you know, at you know, not so busy streets, I'll hop out the car real quick, grab a sign, you know, instead of, you know, parking the car and walking there. I'll just kind of do everything quickly. So I look at, you know, traffic in both ways. If I don't see anybody, I'll grab my sign real quick, hop out the car, put the sign up, and jump right back in. So that's pretty much it. On a busy street. As you can see, it's where we get most of our traffic from. Yeah, and we're gonna just do this with all the signs. So I'll fast forward. I'll see you inside the open house. Okay, so we made it to the open house. We set up everything. You know, big tip, the first thing you want to do when you get in the open house is you want to basically turn on all the lights. You know, you want to get in as much light as possible. So, and let me show you guys what I bring to an open house. So this is basically how I set up my open house, and I'll go one by one. So over here, this is my sign-in sheet. So I use Curb Hero, so I can get everything in, you know, digitally. And what I've seen by having just the sign-in forms, that people's handwriting, you know, their handwriting gets messy. Some people leave fake information. So it's a whole lot of things, you know. You want to make sure you're capturing information correctly. So, and next up is, you know, this basically is a sign that tells you basically sign in here. And then I have my card, and I got these flyer displays from Office Depot. And here I have a custom feedback form, which is linked to, you know, a Google Sheets, so I can give feedback on the home. I made my custom home buyer's guide for Tampa. So it just gives you, you know, basic information, you know, about the market and things that are around Tampa. So, and this is a must. You always want a speaker, you know, brightens the mood. You know, you put it on low and, you know, get a nice friendly playlist. All right, this is my snack basket. I wanted to kind of, you know, make it easier for me since I do like at least 2 open houses every weekend. So I got these small little waters here. And these are the little snacks I was talking about. You know, kids love these. And these are basically the popcorn bags. And I get these also. You know, they last a very long time and people love popcorn. So, and let's dive in deep into Curb Hero real quick. So the reason I use Curb Hero, let me exit here real quick. Curb Hero, you're able to add your listing and it captures the information for each open house. So, and here you can put in a photo and you can put in a question. I usually ask, are you already with an agent? And then have you already been pre-approved? I do need to know that. And then you could just easily launch, you know, and then once the buyer clicks on it, it takes them through the whole steps and everything, and you're capturing all their information properly. So if you got any more questions or anything you need to know, put them in the comments, and don't forget to follow my Instagram page and my TikTok. I do a lot of video content and stuff like that. I do it all myself. So I am one of the hardest working agents out there, in my opinion, as far as what I do. And, if you're ever in Tampa, let me know. We'll grab a beer or something, or, I answer any questions you have. And, see you next time.